or will it be Kamala Harris, who is currently the vice president of President Joe Biden? But that said, today is a Wednesday, and it being a Wednesday, the most interesting bit of it from the local scene is the fact that PLE exams are going to begin. Today, the pupils of primary will be writing their finals, or the candidates of P7 will be writing their finals. Of course, more preparations have been ongoing with the briefing done on Monday. Many of the primary schools now have turned their attention to ensure that at least their pupils or their candidates can pass their exams or their finals, so that we see if they are ready for secondary school. And we're wishing them success or all the best as they sit down to write their PLE or their primary leaving examinations today. But also, in an interesting twist of things, today in Parliament, there's going to be a big decision to be decided in Parliament in regards to the rationalization of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority back to the Mother Ministry, because it does seem like the bill is coming back to Parliament and more decisions are to be made. Of course, that is going to be something that we shall be giving you updates on, and with the live parliamentary sessions here on UBC, you will definitely be keeping up to speed with what is happening here in Uganda. But at this time, let me check on the team and see how they're doing, and also their observation from what is happening in the United States. First off, let me start with Olive Monica, who does look like a person who is going to cast her vote in the United States, or like someone who is already living in the States. Good morning, Olive.
Well, good morning, Jerb. And well, the American election, I had someone in the morning asking someone else that how does the US election concern you? But it's important to note that whoever wins as president, their policies will affect us as a country and Africa as a continent. It should be remembered that we get most of our aid from the United States, especially when it comes to health. So whichever president we get, let's point an image where it is Donald Trump. He is anti-giving money to America first all the time. So we don't know how that will play out. But from what I'm seeing, it's really bitter for me to admit, but Trump seems like he's getting this one.
According to the results,
the early results that we are getting. So he has swept his home state of Florida as expected, and many conservative strongholds, as Kamala Harris is sweeping the liberal bastions across the United States. And it's important to note, Jerome, that Donald Trump in North Carolina, he had over 84% of the votes are in, and he has about 50.7% of the vote over there, and Kamala Harris has 47.9%. That is in North Carolina.
Donald Trump is left with 270 to win.
Exactly. And then when you look at Georgia, these are key swing states, and when you look at Georgia, you see that Trump has 51.2% of the vote, and Harris has 48%. And of course, Pennsylvania, where everyone is focusing right now, so far Donald Trump has 50.8% of the votes, while Kamala has 48.2%. So it's really close. We are waiting for results from states like Nebraska, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. But remember, Nevada is also a conservative stronghold.
Well, and of course, looking at the fact that Kamala is at 46% of the total votes that have so far been counted, and Donald is at 52%.
Yes.
Still, you can see that percentage difference of 6% clearly shows that if at all she came in earlier,
is that what you think?
Would. No, you know, my mind is telling me that if the competition here is as tight as it is now, yet she joined late.
4 months to the
4 months to the election
day.
Imagine if she came in by the time Biden had that shambolic performance at that first presidential debate. And you saw how Kamala really performed in the debate, and many people were so happy to see her and how she turned up for that debate. And however, with these results, you know, American politics, Olive, we've been here a couple of times.
We have been.
And you shared with us in 2001, you took us back to that time.
Yeah, when there was a vote recount between Al Gore and George W. Bush. I didn't have a very clear understanding of American politics.
At least it gave you a picture.
I remember they counted and recounted, and eventually George W. Bush emerged as the winner.
But at least the beauty about it is that the whole world is watching to see how one of the world's economic powers and the superpower is heading to the polls, how they are positioning themselves, because they're always the same people who normally watch how our elections pan out. So the question is, okay, now it's time for us to see if there is real democracy in the United States.
Well, according to the 2020 votes, Donald Trump to this day still believes that the election was rigged. But also it's important to note that for most politicians, whenever they lose, then the election was rigged. So I am waiting to see what he's going to say this time, because if he wins, will he still say, I didn't get enough of the votes that I was supposed to get?
There was a tweet that they brought back that he made in 2020 when he said stop the count, because he realized he was losing then, and he was like, no, stop the count, it's rigging. Now I can only imagine if the elections now turn, I can only imagine what he will tweet or what he will say this time around. But anyways, the updates are still coming in. Let me now check on Robert Chirabonyonyi-Ntono. On his observation, we need to see. Robert, good morning.
Well, good morning to you. Right now, it's very hard to predict who is the final winner. Looking at the majority vote, then you have the electoral colleges. You may not authoritatively say that so-and-so is leading, because when you look at most of the battle states, like Oliver said, you see, yes, Donald Trump seems to be taking a number of them. But for American politics, the electoral colleges matter so much. And that's why yesterday I said that sometimes I don't understand how their democracy works, but that's what they agreed upon. So I only wait to see eventually when you have the majority vote and the electoral colleges come in, because updates show that over half of the polling stations people are done with the voting. So now I wait for those that have not come in, and I don't think we may have a recount. I strongly don't think. But also the other challenge is, with Donald Trump, if defeated, will he accept defeat? Because remember, one of the things he said on his rallies was that this is the last time he's coming. He will not come again unless otherwise. So if he's defeated,
he's already too old.
So this is his final blow. This is his final blow.
78, and if he comes back as president, he'll be the oldest person to be elected president.
So this is his final shot at it.
Yeah.
So how it's going to go down, the world is watching.
Yeah.
Okay. And indeed, the world is watching. However much we do not have any say whatsoever.
Election observers?
We didn't, but we do have quite a number of Ugandans who are in the
They observe ours, but us
we
observe
don't observe theirs.
Robert, you want to observe the United States elections?
Hey, what's
yes,
for the
there's something you can pick to take home. Because
but I've seen some Ugandans already there. Others are there simply because they have family members. The others are there because they have interest in politics.
And some are there and they are voting. I saw Pastor Martin Semper.
Yes.
Voting.
Yeah, he
but
was
he has a visa.
He's an American.
Yes.
He has American citizenship. Then I saw Rihanna saying, this is the moment when I want to take my son's passport so that I can vote, because me I can't, because she's not an American citizen. Yeah.
But well, of course, and the only beauty about the elections from me on my side is the fact that the entertainment world has taken a stand on their own candidates. And you know, they always do.
Yeah.
And unlike in Africa, Olive, you know, in Africa it's not an easy thing to see a musician taking a side or someone taking a side. It's very, very...
It's controversial, and you risk losing funds. But you see, in America, we have the conservatives, and then we have the liberals, and most artists are liberals, save for a few like Kanye West.
And on screen, you can see votes being counted. Nevada, there is also Pennsylvania. More votes are still being counted in those states, as you can see on the screen. So we wait to see how and who wins those states, because there are also more remaining states as results are yet to be finally released or announced to know who will be the next president of the United States. But that said, we now turn our focus onto the local news here in Uganda to see what is making headlines away from the US elections.
Well, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was recognized by the African Society for Laboratory Medicine as one of Africa's illuminaries and a champion for improving health laboratory services on the continent. The award acknowledges the president's bold vision, strong Pan-Africanism, and commitment to the Global Agenda 2030, highlighting his outstanding leadership and dedication to improving health, particularly in Uganda and across Africa. The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Diana Atwine, received the award on behalf of the President at the ongoing Special Convention on Diagnostics in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. Dr. Atwine was accompanied by the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Henry Mwebasa, and the Commissioner for Laboratory Services, Dr. Susan Nabanda, among other dignitaries. The opposition in Parliament have maintained their stand on the National Coffee Amendment Bill 2024. Leader of Opposition, Joe Senyonyi, and MPs continue to demand that the Uganda Coffee Development Authority be maintained in its current state. Parliament resumes today to deliberate on the third reading of the National Coffee Amendment Bill, which seeks to mainstream the functions of UDCA into the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Members of the East African Legislative Assembly have declined to adopt a report of the Committee on Regional Affairs and Conflict Resolution on the performance and functioning of the regional police centers for excellency and security agencies. Cooperation in tracking across-border crime within the East African region. This follows what the legislators described as an overstepped mandate over a recommendation on the alleged border conflict between Rwanda and Burundi. The regional members of parliament say the report presented by Uganda's Gerard Siranda deviated from the original terms and references, prompting a motion to have the report withdrawn. The Executive Director of the Uganda National Examinations Board, UNEB, Dan Odong, has expressed readiness for this year's primary leaving exams, PLE, noting that by the close of business, as of yesterday, the 5th of November 2024, all districts across the country had received examination material. Odong also provided an update on the preparedness of Uganda Advanced Certificate for Education exams, which are scheduled for Monday 11th of November, affirming that all is well. However, UNEB has strongly warned the general public against breaching examination rules.
That's it for our local news here in Uganda. We now turn our focus to the international scene.
Well, on the international scene, we will start still in the United States, where the U.S. presidential election is on knife edge in early vote results. Early vote results show the race between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris to become the next president of the United States is too close to call. As expected, Trump has won his home state of Florida and other conservative strongholds across the map, while Kamala Harris is sweeping Liberal bastions on the East Coast. This is according to the BBC's US partner CBS and in its projections. But there is no clear leader in the 7 swing states that will decide who ultimately wins the White House. Exit polls suggest voters rated the state of democracy and the economy as their most important issues. Whichever way it goes, the result will be historic, either giving America its first woman president or marking a seismic political comeback for Donald Trump. A high turnout has been predicted, but the outcome may not be known for several days if the results are as close as polls have indicated. Whoever wins the White House may have their hands tied by Congress, which is also up for grabs in Tuesday's vote. Now moving on to Israel, Netanyahu has fired Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in a surprise announcement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday dismissed his popular Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in a surprise announcement that came as the country is embroiled in wars on multiple fronts across the region. The move sparked protests across the country, including a mass gathering that paralyzed central Tel Aviv. Netanyahu and Gallant have repeatedly been at odds over the war in Gaza, but Netanyahu had avoided firing his rival before taking the step as the world's attention was focused on the US presidential election. Netanyahu cited significant gaps and a crisis of trust in his Tuesday evening announcement as he replaced Gallant with a long-time loyalist. In the midst of a war, more than ever, full trust is required between the Prime Minister and Defense Minister, Netanyahu said. Unfortunately, although in the first months of the campaign there was such trust and there was very fruitful work, during the last months, this trust cracked between me and the Defense Minister, end quote. Now moving on to Africa. Equatorial Guinea Vice President has warned against office sex after viral videos. Civil servants caught having sex in their offices will face severe measures, the Vice President of Equatorial Guinea has warned after hundreds of allegedly pornographic videos were leaked to the public. The videos reportedly involve high-ranking civil servant Baltazar Ebanga Engonga having sex with various women, including the wives of prominent officials in his office. Mr. Engonga is head of the country's National Financial Investigation Agency and also a relative of the country's president. The BBC has asked him for a comment. On his Facebook page, Mr. Engonga has posted that he is feeling sad, along with a photo of him with a woman and children captioned, "Family is everything." Vice President Teodoro Obiang Mengu said any officials found engaging in sex acts at work would be suspended, as this was a flagrant violation of the Code of Conduct. He has also ordered the installation of surveillance cameras in courts and ministries to combat indecent and illicit acts. A statement from the Vice President's office said the decision had been taken in the wake of the widely circulated videos which had denigrated the image of the country. It added that he had recommended opening an investigation. The videos in question were leaked after Mr. Engonga was arrested on separate corruption charges, this according to state television TVGE. Wow. We come back from the videos. Yeah.
Robert, just quickly, what is your comment on what is happening in Equatorial Guinea? Because it has opened and sparked conversations about those videos. People have been comparing the gentleman to Solomon, And, you know, it's not the right analogy to use, by the way.
Solomon in the Bible?
Yes, Solomon in the Bible. And giving him other titles as the Spartan and things like that. But when you look at this coming in from a public servant, what would be your take?
First, I must say we've had a lot of moral decadence. Because someone is doing something very immoral. They decide to record themselves. First, that shows, is this person okay? Why then are you recording? Then you even go to an extent of keeping. You know, I wonder, he was keeping this for who? Because we were told it was during a search at his place that they discovered these various CDs. Now, why was he keeping them in the first place? But also, maybe, and I want to use the word maybe, he was just unlucky. That we must accept these things are happening. Maybe others have not just been nabbed yet.
Also, Jerome, a clarification, because the social media went into a friend saying that he was found with about 400 videos with 400 women. It actually is not, that's not the case. There were over 400 recordings, not necessarily with 400 women. It still doesn't make it any better.
It doesn't.
But why would you know why he would be recording?
And you see, there's something that is cropping up. Why are people having these recordings? Like you wake up on social media, someone's whatevers have linked, and you ask, I mean.
Jeremiah, I asked a question yesterday. Have we become such a promiscuous society, or have we always been, but it is now amplified by the existence of social media and cameras?
I think we've always been, and social media is just helping us
to see what,
society is, yes. Yeah. Because the fact that people continue doing this does not look good. But that said, let's look into what the press has to say this morning from the print media. A-level syllabus, new plan has been unveiled. According to the new vision, there is a transitional curriculum to run for 4 years. Find more of that in the new vision. Then Ireland injects 1.4 billion Ugandan shillings into neonatal care in Karamoja. As America's moment of truth, more of the United States elections are in the new vision. Now, joining of the eco pipes on course, there is a pictorial of the pipes that have so far been laid, as Museveni and Ruto to endorse resource sharing. That is in the new vision. As Parliament seals UCDA FET today. More of that, new vision. Daily Monitor, neck and neck, says the Daily Monitor. America in labor. The dizzying presidential contest between Republican Donald Trump and Democrat Kamala Harris hurtled towards an uncertain finish last night as millions of Americans lined up at polling stations to choose between two sharply different visions for the country. Now, how East African community milk politics has dealt heavy blow to trade in dairy products. Also, homes. What do Gen Z tenants want? Find out more in the Homes Perspective. Now, who will pay the price for coffee bill? His stand, the president says, we have been educating Ugandans about commercial agriculture with Echibaro. In this case, we insist that you separate intensive agriculture from extensive agriculture. When I came in Chisozi, there were a lot of contradictory messages, but eventually people listened to what I was telling them. We are going to have a showdown. They are liars and criminals playing with fire. They will not like the counterattack. Now, also, what the leader of opposition in Parliament, Joel Senyonyi, says, no one is going to intimidate us because no one wrote to us an invitation and said, I would like you to come and sit in this house. No, the people who voted us have sent us here and they are happy with the work we are doing. So if anyone has got ideas to try to intimidate us because we hear they are planning to arrest some of us. We have been arrested so many times that isn't something you can use to threaten some of us. Now, the other is UNEB ups game on cheats as PLE candidates start exams, and court blocks members of parliament call to sack NSSF finance boss. Also, in matters climate change, politicians seeking nation through wetland degradation. Now, lastly, from the press review is the Daily Nation in Kenya. America's choice, election day, historic. It started as a showdown between incumbent Joe Biden and the man he had dislodged from the White House. He had dislodged from the White House. Now it seems Donald Trump is leaning towards the tail end of the divisive campaign. The contest had yet another sudden twist with Vice President Kamala joining the race. Now, Ruto headache in picking interior CS, also crime, dead suspects, questions in Wales, Fargo boss murder. All of that is in the Daily Nation. Then Raila's AUC power team, ex-diplomats, top strategists run his whale oil campaign, and state changes tune on SHA. Non-salaried will now have option to pay premiums monthly. That is with the Daily Nation. And well, that said, we now turn our focus onto the US elections. That will be our point of discussion in our newsreel later on. But first, our song of the day is Mirror, coming in from Madison Ryan Ward. Have it.
But it's important to note that whoever wins as president, their policies will affect us as a country and Africa as a continent. It should be remembered that we get most of our aid from the United States, especially when it comes to health. So whichever president we get, let's point an image where it is Donald Trump. He is anti-giving money to America first all the time. So we don't know how that will play out. But from what I'm seeing, it's really bitter for me to admit, but Trump seems like he's getting this one.
According to the results,
the early results that we are getting. So he has swept his home state of Florida as expected, and many conservative strongholds, as Kamala Harris is sweeping the liberal bastions across the United States. And it's important to note, Jerome, that Donald Trump in North Carolina, he had over 84% of the votes are in, and he has about 50.7% of the vote over there, and Kamala Harris has 47.9%. That is in North Carolina.
Donald Trump is left with 270 to win.
Exactly. And then when you look at Georgia, these are key swing states. And when you look at Georgia, you see that Trump has 51.2% of the vote, and Harris has 48%. And of course, Pennsylvania, where everyone is focusing right now, so far Donald Trump has 50.8% of the votes, while Kamala has 48.2%. So it's really close. We are waiting for results from states like Nebraska, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. But remember, Nevada is also a conservative stronghold.
Well, and of course, looking at the fact that Kamala is at 46% of the total votes that have so far been counted, and Donald is at 52%.
Yes.
Still, you can see that percentage difference of 6% clearly shows that if at all she came in earlier,
is that
the chances would. No, you know, my mind is telling me that if the competition here is as tight as it is now, yet she joined late,
4 months to the
4 months to the
election day.
Imagine if she came in by the time Biden had that shambolic performance at that first presidential debate. And you saw how Kamala really performed in the debate, and many people were so happy to see her and how she turned up for that debate. And however, with these results, you know, American politics, Olive, we've been here a couple of times.
We have been.
And you shared with us in 2001, you took us back to that time.
Yeah, when there was a vote recount between Al Gore and George W. Bush. I didn't have a very clear understanding of American politics. At least it gave you a picture. I remember they counted and recounted, and eventually George W. Bush emerged as the winner. But at least the beauty about it is that the whole world is watching to see how one of the world's economic powers and the superpower is heading to the polls, how they are positioning themselves, because they're always the same people who normally watch how our elections pan out. So the question is, okay, now it's time for us to see if there is real democracy in the United States. Well, according to the 2020 votes, Donald Trump to this day still
predicts they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, the energy in the room has picked up a bit. Supporters and volunteers for Tam Baldwin and Democrats here in Madison, Wisconsin. They're coming in now. They've been watching some of the results coming in on television. A big cheer going up when Dane County flashed on the screen. That's where we are. And a big lead in that county for Kamala Harris. But just a few moments ago, we saw the Lieutenant Governor of the state, Sarah Rodriguez, take the stage. She gave a bit of a reality check to everybody here, saying, hey, look, we know how things work in Wisconsin. This is going to be a long night until we get those final results. There are so many cities that do this central count. So all the ballots sent to one place to be processed and counted there. And that is simply going to take time, especially in the city and county of Milwaukee. That's where we saw an earlier snafu where some 31,000 ballots had to be recounted after there was an error with the machine door on one of these machines not being closed properly. That has caused a bit of drama here among the Republican Party. They're claiming that, well, the city of Milwaukee wasn't quite prepared for this. City officials saying this is only out of a complete abundance of caution that they're doing this recount. I've been speaking with supporters here and those gathered in this building. You can feel a bit of anxiety starting to creep into the room. They know that if those Sun Belt swing states do go for Donald Trump, then the clearest path to victory is going to be through what's called the Blue Wall states. Wisconsin is one of them. These Midwestern states, Great Lakes states that tend to go Democratic but have been leaning more Republican in recent years. Wisconsin going to be a key part of that. Kamala Harris will not be able to afford to lose this state if she does lose the state.
All right, that feed is live now from the BBC, giving some coverage of the United States elections as elections continue to come through. Looking into some of the updates coming in, do show that the electoral votes so far have Donald Trump at 211, with Kamala Harris having 145 of the electoral votes of those that have been counted so far. And then also the breaking is showing that Kamala Harris is likely to win California, according to what is coming in. And also the other is that Donald Trump has hit 50 million votes. And when you also look into the votes so far, that had been coming in before we went into the newsreel. The votes had been Donald Trump at 49.92 million, with Kamala Harris at 43.93 million. But it seems like Donald Trump has finally hit the 50 million. And one of the other key swing states in Wisconsin, which with 59% of the votes being counted, Trump is still leading at 49.9%, followed by Kamala Harris at 48.5%. And also looking into Pennsylvania, which is another key swing state, having Trump leading at 90.7% and Harris at 48.3%, with 66% of the votes in. Now, when you look at the rest of the White House, still showing 270 to win, with Harris at 153 of the electoral votes, and Donald Trump is at 211 of those electoral votes, according to more of the figures coming in as the elections continue to and the votes count continues in the United States. You look at other states like North Carolina with 85% of the votes counted so far. Then Georgia, which is also another key swing state, having 88% of the votes that are so far being counted. Then Wisconsin, all of those are votes that are being counted according to what is being reported now. And those are figures from the from the observation of the BBC showing what is happening and the counts that are ongoing according to what we are seeing here. Olive, what do you have so far? And Donald Trump, as you can see, is live at the Trump headquarters in Florida, a state that he has completely won, I should say. And this time around, those Democrats, rather the Republican supporters and all of the Trump supporters are there to rally him to presidency. And you can see the Trump campaign headquarters in Florida is where most of the Republican supporters are now gathered to ensure that they follow the United States elections as Donald Trump. And as you can definitely see, in Washington, though, is Kamala Harris is in Washington, D.C. She's also following up on the elections. So you can see the Harris campaign headquarters that is in Washington, D.C. She's also following up with her Democrats and her supporters who are rallying her for presidentship in the next 4 years, her and Tim Walz to lead the country for the next 4 years. Olive, in your observation so far, what is it like in the United States?
Well, to begin with, the Kamala Harris campaign has been so much onto the rights of women, the contemporary, the controversial Roe v. Wade, and because where he wanted to overturn the laws on abortion and abortion rights, and the whole tagline of "My body, my choice." And so we expected that she would have more women voting for her rather than voting for Donald Trump. But according to the results coming through via the CNN, it shows that in as much as, yes, most of her voters are women at 54%, Donald Trump has still women at around 43%. So the difference in percentage is about 11. Yes, it is high, but not as high as we expected, because we thought that where maybe 60% of women are voting for Kamala Harris, we have maybe 30% voting for Donald Trump. But still, what we see right now is that more and more women have voted for Kamala Harris. Now, looking at some of the demographics in terms of race, Kamala, exit polls show that 53% of Latino voters support Kamala Harris, while 45% support Donald Trump. And in 2020, President Joe Biden had the support of 65% of Latino voters compared to Trump at 32. So what we see right now is that the number of Latino voters for Donald Trump have increased from 32 to 45. But then for the Democrats, they have decreased from 65 to 53%, in as much as the Democrats still have the highest number, but you can see the difference in the percentages compared to the last election. So that's what is happening right now. And then more than half, which is about 54% of Latino men, support Donald Trump, but only 45 support Kamala Harris. So what has changed in the last 4 years?
A lot has changed, I think. A lot has changed. And Olive, when you look at also the electoral votes, it is showing that Kamala is having 179 and Donald Trump is having 214. Now, that is still tight because Donald Trump is supposed to hit 270 to win. That is if we are looking at the electoral votes. And he's still left with about 50 of those electoral votes to at least put himself in the best position of leading the White House for the next 4 years, or the Donald Trump administration leading the United States for the next 4 years. But then also looking at Kamala Harris, who is also something about what has changed in the 4 years.
Yes.
Because when you look at the time when Joe Biden came in as president, many people thought that at least he's going to bring back those days of the Barack Obama, because he worked with him before, and the fact that he was, you know, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama also rallying Joe
Behind
Biden.
him, yes.
And it gave him that winning edge. It was also part of his contributors to him winning the race. But then you realize that in 4 years, the opposition in Donald Trump has found quite a number of things to decampaign the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration. And in turn, because Donald Trump is a man who is so much in the business bit of things, he has always come out to reveal that under the Joe Biden presidency, you realize that America's economy has been slowly going down. And according to Donald Trump, he feels that the only way America gets great again is by voting him in power, that maybe
that
he will change.
So,
but you know that more like politics and how politicians have to convince.
And that's right, Jerome, because the same wind he's riding on is the same wind that actually took him down. Because yes, he had actually brought the American economy to a great length during his presidency. Unfortunately for him, he mishandled COVID-19, and because of that, the economy sank. So Joe Biden came in to revive the economy. Unfortunately for Joe Biden, again, the economy has sunk. People do not have jobs. Because when you look at Americans right now, the number one concern they have regarding this election is the economy. Actually, when you look at opinion polls, many Americans cite the economy as their most top issue. So when you look at people that, like, let's say the Latinas, where Donald Trump had just 36% of Latino men in 2020, and now he has over 45%. These are the men that work. Probably they're the laborers, they're the men that need their jobs and they don't have the jobs. So they are looking at Donald Trump because this is what he has been citing mostly. He's been fronting the economy. That's why he has the backing of billionaires like Elon Musk. And all of them believe in him to revive the American economy. Whereas Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has been so much onto the rights of women. Of course, the economy has been there, but also what works to the undoing of the Democratic Front is the war in Gaza.
And they've not yet taken a strategic stand.
Exactly.
And they're just playing around, according to some of the Americans.
So they have backed Israel. And because America has this relationship with Israel that seems untouchable, so they have, and especially the Democrats, so they have backed Israel, and Americans are looking on. They're like, people are being massacred in Palestine.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? But also the money that is going in to support a war that Americans feel it doesn't make sense. Also recently, when they had all these hurricanes, and they feel that the government didn't give them as much support as they should have, yet they feel like the government was giving out money to as foreign aid and to foreigners. So when you look at all these fronts, you see why the Democratic Front is suffering at the moment and why they might lose the election. Might, because we are still in the early stages. We don't know, though. From how things look, if you ask me, Jerome, to bet, I might eat your money.
But of course, in one of our final campaigns, that is the Vice President Kamala Harris promised to put an end to the Gaza war that once she's voted into power. But as you can see on the screen, the red states are indicative of a Trump win, and the blue show the side of the Democrats, that is Kamala Harris. And by the look of things, we're only left, Kamala Harris's only hope is now with the swing states. And by the look of things here, also Georgia, which is also a key swing state, has Trump leading at 50.9% and Harris at 48.3%. There are 90% of the votes in. Chances are high Donald Trump wins that state. And then Pennsylvania, which is another key swing state and quite a decisive one, has Trump leading at 51% with Harris at 47.9% with 76% of votes in. And when you look into most of these states, clearly showing you the chances of winning. But on the screen you can also see what are the other remaining states, because when you look at the key swing states that have not been called so far, Arizona, Georgia, and Michigan. Arizona and Georgia, Trump is leading. In Michigan, Harris is leading. North Carolina has Trump leading. Pennsylvania has got Trump leading. Wisconsin also has Trump leading, as you can see also on the screen there. Maricopa has seen Harris win at a 50.7% of the vote, with the 51.2% of the votes being counted so far. So you can easily look at the updates there as as more of the details come in. Well, remember also Kamala Harris's campaigning team are in Washington, D.C. for to observe how the election goes, together with her supporters, as the other side, Donald Trump, is in the headquarters of the Trump campaigning team in Florida. Now, what is on screen is how Arizona is voting, or what is happening in the state of Arizona, with 11 electoral votes in there. As you can see, with 50% of the votes counted so far, Harris is still leading at 62.5%. That is in the presidential state of Arizona, and Trump at 36.5%. And we're also looking into the other details coming in from the United States. You get to also realize that, like we've mentioned at the opener, is that regardless of who comes in as president, in any way, it is going to affect Africans. It may either impact or affect us, because the decisions that are being made by the American administration, especially when it comes to international relations and diplomacy, are always geared towards either impacting the African continent or in a good way or in a negative way. So that's why you see we're giving you some follow-up of how these elections are likely to pan out, or how they are likely to affect us in one way or the other. Some people who are saying they are supporters of Donald Trump, they have their reasons. Others who are against him are saying when he was president, African interests were never had. But when we saw the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration, Olive, you realize we had President Samia Suluhu Hassan having her trip to the U.S. We saw President William Ruto to the U.S. And I've also been told Joe Biden will be making his visit to Africa in December. And that is, of course, after we shall have known who will be the next president after him. But at least maybe Africans feel that with the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration, maybe the African interests were put first. But the others are saying, well, the beauty about Donald Trump coming in is that the U.S. will not put its influence in other states.
Oh, there is that, and geopolitics is quite a huge thing for people that are watching the American election. I would give everything in my life to observe and know what Putin has in his mind when it comes to the American election. But Jerome, I wanted to take you through some of the key issues the American people are fronting in this election, and why they're deciding on who they are choosing to be their next president. So roughly half, which is 51% of voters who support Donald Trump, said the economy was their top issue, followed by immigration at 20%. And this is according to the exit polls from CBS News. Now, still, among voters supporting Harris, more than half, which is 56%, said the state of democracy was their top issue. Abortion was the second top issue at 21%. Only 1/3 of voters said the economy is in good or excellent shape, and another 1/3 say the economy is not so good, and another third says it's poor. So just 1/4 said they are personally better off than they were 4 years ago. Now here is the kicker. About 45% said they are worse off, and about 3 in 10 reported they're doing about the same. So when you look at the opinion polls and why the American people are choosing who they are choosing to be their next president. So there is this abortion issue, Joram, when it comes to the Kamala Harris supporters. When you hear abortion, in most cases, people think about the fact that I have gotten pregnant, I don't want to keep the child, and I'm going to get rid of it. But actually, abortion exposes a lot. Even when a lady has a miscarriage, in medical terms, that is called an abortion. But now, because of the Roe v. Wade ruling that was overturned, in some states, medical workers are afraid to give post-abortion care to women, those that have had miscarriages, those that have had ectopic pregnancies, not necessarily people who say they don't want to have children. And many ladies now have to travel across state lines to go get that kind of attention. So Kamala Harris is promising that this will come back in the event that she's given, in the event that she is voted as president. And it's been a key issue for women because women's bodies work differently. Today you're pregnant, tomorrow you're losing the baby, you need this care, and the nearest medical center says we cannot give you that.
And of course, well, we will wait to see the cutting edge of that. But of course, all of these two candidates have promised so many things, and many know Donald Trump on his punchline of America first, put America first,
make
and,
America great
again. So it's all. But Olive, let's also look into, as we're summing up here, looking into how former President Barack Obama has rallied behind Kamala Harris, and it is highly expected that if Kamala Harris happens to win this election, the Obama influence is one of the other things that has highly been talked about, with the way he has been rallying for her as president, and also going to various states where she has been campaigning to also call upon American voters. Even on his social media platforms, he has been encouraging after an hour how important it is for Americans to vote for Kamala Harris.
So, well, it's been seen during the Biden campaign that Barack Obama was right behind him, and he endorsed him. And you know, endorsements count. I remember in 2008, the American election, when Barack Obama was being voted for the first time, and among others, Oprah Winfrey endorsed him and a few former leaders. So endorsements by people of note really matter, and he has thrown his weight behind Biden in the past, who was his vice president, and now because he is a Democrat, obviously, and a Democrat who was a president for 2 terms, he had to throw his weight again behind Kamala Harris. And there are people who are voting Kamala Harris just because Barack Obama said, America, let's do this. Let's vote. This is our person. So, and when you ask me, I feel like Barack, Michelle, Joe Biden, they're really passionate about seeing this lady come through. And of course, what would you expect from them? They're Democrats, and she's a Democrat. So this is expected. I've seen Clinton in the past at rallies for other Democratic candidates like Joe Biden in the past. Actually, at the inauguration, you remember, in 20 years, we saw George W. Bush, in as much as he's Republican. There was that famous picture of George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton taking a picture at the inauguration. So it's expected for him to throw his weight. Though I've not seen former Republican leaders throwing their weight behind Donald Trump. Have you seen George W. Bush anywhere?
No. He was, again, he wasn't seen anywhere in the campaigning teams, by the way.
Yeah.
It's only the billionaire Elon Musk who has been so vocal when it comes to Donald Trump. And of course, others from the side of the entertainment, because the beauty is that at least they've been balancing the energies. However much I should say, Harris has got that influence also, especially when it comes to many of the people who have been following her kind of, lifestyle and how she has been engaging with quite a number of Americans during her time as vice president. And now
people were criticizing Kamala Harris for having all these artists backing her. But remember, some people look at these artists as gods.
Exactly.
So to speak.
The followers that they have.
Exactly. So they are opinion leaders among their fans.
Yes.
And if, let's say, Beyonce says, let's vote Kamala, you don't know how many people are going to be influenced
by what she says.
By what she says. So everything and everyone counts. Everything, because every single vote matters. We have 270 votes to be won. And so it's important that you call upon everyone that can be behind you to rake in those votes. And that's where the former president, who was widely liked by many Americans, comes in.
Well, and of course, a win for Donald Trump is a win for Republicans. A win for Kamala Harris is something that you can see. And of course, Washington projected win is Harris with 12 electoral votes there in Washington. And of course, please do note that in Washington is where she's currently at, Washington, D.C., because that is also her campaigning team headquarters, and she's projected to win Washington. So also looking at the rest of the White House, 270 to win. The electoral votes are also increasing. Trump is at 211, as you can see, and also Kamala Harris at 165. By the time we went on air, she didn't have that number. No. So it clearly shows you that she's coming closer to where Donald Trump is. And remember, you're supposed to have 270 to come out as the winner when it comes to those electoral votes. Now, when you look at the battleground states, or the swing states, Georgia easily showing that 90.1% of the counts have been made. Donald Trump is leading. North Carolina, 87.4% of the count. Republicans are leading. In 2020, Donald Trump lost Georgia. It looks like this time around he's going to win. North Carolina, he won it, and he's also winning it again today. Now, Pennsylvania, which is 76.8% of the count, a state Donald Trump lost in 2020 is a state that he's likely to win this time around. Michigan, Harris is leading, and also in 2020, the Democrats under Joe Biden won that state. So it seems Michigan is not a state that Donald Trump is likely to win again. Wisconsin, Trump is ahead with 59,789 votes, 66.2% of the count so far. In 2020, he lost that. Maybe it's time for him to win it again, Now, Wisconsin, he's leading Donald Trump with 66.2% of the votes counted. And Arizona and Nevada, all of those are states that Donald Trump lost in 2020. But this time around, he's leading. Apart from Nevada, whose poll is closing at 10 p.m. and more of those votes will be coming in. Now, also, the colors, red represents Donald Trump, who is a Republican, and then blue represents the side of Kamala Harris, the Democrats. And they were giving you a simple understanding of how the elections panned out in 2020, because it now shows in 2020, most of the states that Donald Trump had lost, he has been able to lead as the votes count thus continue in the United States. Of course, more of those updates are going to be coming along here on Good Morning Uganda, so keep it here as we wait to see. And more of that, we shall be giving you those updates later on in the USA election updates. But for now, we're going for a short break. When we do return, we have the Tourism Express and the business updates. Good morning.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their nation faces its greatest test yet. Part of our journey, and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Nice to know that you can feed the giraffes here at Awake. Getting so close to them, feeding them. Actually, they are very gentle animals. Giraffes are one of the most amazing animals that I love. Meeting, feeding. Maybe because we are totally opposite, because when you see my height, I'm definitely very short compared to giraffes. Now look at this young giraffe. It is very tall. She's very tall, actually. I think I'm just not even halfway. But I love giraffes. However much they are totally the opposite of mine. And this is the GM Tourism Express at UBC. Thank you so much for keeping around, sticking around.
My name is Aine Magara, and I'm a zookeeper at the Uganda Wildlife Conservation Education Center. Today we are going to talk about the giraffes. The tallest land animals that can go up to 13 feet. That's quite tall. So they are also what we call the biggest ruminants on land. Ruminants are animals that chew the cud or regurgitate. So giraffes happen to be the biggest of all the living ruminants. And here at the zoo we have 3 giraffes. The one that was behind me, we call him Diamond, and he's the one who is sponsored by Diamond Trust Bank. and he's not even 2 years. He was born in June of 2022. That's when Diamond was born. But also further behind there is Seguia, who is the dad, and North. So those are the three giraffes that we have. Very gentle animals. Giraffes are predominantly browsers, or they feed on tree leaves. However, they are known also to feed on grass. They can bend and feed on grass. They can feed on shrubs, depending on the availability of food. So here at the zoo, our giraffes mainly feed on browse, different species of browse, like the one we are feeding is called Cariandra. So they at least have 4 hips, 4 very big hips of browse, which we raise because these are tall animals and they feed from on tall plants. So we have pulleys, we raise their browse up. We feed in the morning, we also feed them in the evening. But also we have what we call supplements, so like dessert. From bananas to eggplants to cabbage to bitter berries to most of the vegetables. So those are some of the supplements. But also we also give them what we call the horse pellets. But also we give them the mineral broth, so that they can get some of those micronutrients they cannot get in the browse. Yeah.
So how long have these giraffes been here?
As I said, Diamond is the youngest, and he was born here. He's captive born. North came in 2015 from the northern bank of Murchison Falls. Seguia, who is named after our former executive director, Dr. Andrew Seguia, was also from Murchison, and he came in 2009.
Why did they take long to breed?
One, they have a very, very long gestation period. The second longest gestation period is of a giraffe of 18 months.
What is the first one?
The elephant, which goes up to 22 months. Yeah, followed by a giraffe. So you have to wait for 18 months to see a very young calf of a giraffe. Sometimes it is hard to tell, but when you are observing these animals on a daily, their teeth are very tiny. They're actually very hidden. But towards those 4 or 5 stages close to giving birth, the teeth are out, the vulva enlarges in preparation, but also the body score is good. They grow much bigger. They're looking very good. You can clearly tell that probably this animal is pregnant.
And then is there some special attention that you are giving it, like maybe medication, just like humans, you get antenatal?
No. These guys, they usually have natural birth, but in case we monitor them during especially that critical time, so that in case it needs assistance, our vets can be on standby and they assist in giving birth. But most of the giraffes that have given birth, they give birth on their own. Maybe the major thing we can do is increasing their diet, for example, supplements, such that you can have milk for the young ones. In terms of weight, height, 4 feet, and probably around 40-50 kilos. Yes. And in the next 30 minutes to 1 hour, they can run after they have been produced.
Oh my God.
Yes. So it is an adaptation to run away from the predators in the wild. So this is our Diamond over here.
Diamond wants to do everything. That was it from Awake. There are so many different species that you can actually enjoy sighting here at Awake. But behind the scenes specifically takes you to about 5 or 4 wildlife species here. So that is the giraffes, the rhinos, lions, the shorebill, and the chimpanzees. So But besides the behind the scenes experience, there is a lot, actually a lot that you can spot here at Uwek. You can see, if you're a reptile lover, the different snake species here. You can spot the elephants, zebras, a lot that you can actually spot at Uwek. So if you're a wildlife lover, but you also need that bit of leisure, please find time and explore the beautiful Uwek that we have. It is an accessory that is so popular, like I said, not just in Uganda, but Africa-wide. Numbers of tourists come in the country just to visit Uwek. And then there is you, a Ugandan who has been in the country for more than 20 years, and you've not even thought about visiting this place. Please find time and explore Uganda and see the beautiful nature that God placed in our country. Thank you so much for keeping around. I am Irene Alena Misango, Uganda Uncovered. Stay tuned in. We shall take you around Uganda at the comfort of your desk or your phone or your TV, wherever you're watching us from. Thank you.
Well, it's now the Good Morning Uganda business updates coming your way this morning, and our very first report takes us to the Market Systems Development Convention 2024, which was held yesterday by a Sigma. Now, this particular one had quite a number of industry players from all walks of Uganda's economy discussing and talking about matters to do with technology and finance, access to finance, and also enabling those who do not have any knowledge or idea on how to access most of these. The theme for the Market Systems Development Convention 2024 was leveraging technology and finance to enhance market participation for sustainable development. And in this report, we spoke to David Nanabi Wachiku, who is the Managing Director of a Sigma, and in the same spirit talked to Collins Apoyo, the Chief of Party USAID Feed the Future Inclusive Markets activity. We have the details.
Market Systems Development Convention is about bringing practitioners in the development, public and private space that are focused on delivering impact at the bottom of the pyramid. You have, for example, several public sector projects. You have the grow facility. You have the Small Business Recovery Fund. You have the parish development model. You have several government projects. You have projects which are funded by USAID in agricultural markets, in energy. You have programming are being repeated now and again. So you find that, for example, a fund is set up to support women entrepreneurs or youth SMEs, but then there are all these limitations on collateral and people cannot access the money, and then you have different projects that have found ways in which they can circumnavigate these weaknesses. So the Market System Development Convention is to bring actors who are working in this space to share learnings. The objective is to ensure that there's a melting pot of the best ideas that can be used to design the next program. Now, a Sigma, works in this space, across the board, from managing funds of money, from doing access to markets programs. And so we have noticed the disconnect between different actors. We've seen best practices from USAID programs not being taken up by government. And as a stakeholder who is driven objectively, with the aspiration of building a better country, a better Africa, we're driven by that. We are bringing together all these actors in one space, to discuss, to share, to collaborate, to learn. So in the audience, you have from Airtel, money, to MTN, to USAID, to ministry officials, to private sector players. You have them in one room sharing everything, and discussing best approaches.
When you look at the smallholder farmer in Uganda, you realize that he or she is impacted by several things around him or her. They are acting in a space where there are several actors, and sometimes the solution to the problem of the smallholder farmer has to be solved by somebody else who is within that same market space. And for me, this particular workshop is bringing together several actors who could provide a solution that enables a smallholder farmer, enables an agribusiness in Uganda to find a solution. The solution could be an issue of capacity, the solution could be an issue about finance, the solution could be an issue around markets. So this particular convention is looking at the ecosystem that serves the smallholder farmer and trying to find connections that could actually deliver a solution to the farmer. I think one of the biggest problems that I see in Uganda is, first of all, about the capacity of the smallholder farmer to actually manage the finance. That is the first thing that any financier will think about. Is the smallholder farmer able to manage the finance that is available to him? But that also has several other things you have to consider. And in many cases, another issue here is that the products that are developed by the financiers is not appropriate to the farmer. A bank will have a loan for 12 months when a farmer has a financial cycle of 6 months. So matching the need of the farmer and the products available in the market has been a problem in this country. But more importantly, I think access to finance by smallholder farmers has been hampered because for the finance to really work for the farmer, there are several other things that must be there. There must be market for the product. There must be the right information how to grow the product. And yet there are no environments that bring all this information together to the farmer. So stimulating an environment that provides all that a farmer needs in order to utilize the finance is really critical.
Of course, access to finance for many farmers is something that is supposed to be discussed on many occasions because not so many farmers have the chance to have the money to continue increasing on their productivity, especially in many of the market spaces that we have in the country. But that mentioned, we now turn our focus on matters with the mandate of fulfilling Uganda's commercial interests in the petroleum sector, has committed to meeting the government's promise to supplying the country's first petroleum oil by the end of 2025. Now, this commitment was communicated by the acting CEO of UNOC, Phillips Obita, during a monitoring and inspection exercise of the company by the Minister of State for Economic Monitoring and Evaluation, Beatrice Akello. Now, Minister Akello, however, tasked the company with addressing concerns raised by stakeholders during the recent tour of the petroleum belts in the Northern Corridor. Now, Minister of State for Economic Monitoring and Evaluation, that is Honorable Beatrice Akello's inspection follows a recent monitoring and evaluation exercise on developments in the Northern Corridor's petroleum areas of Bulisa, Hoima and Masindi. Now accompanied by a team of technocrats from the Department of Economic Monitoring, the minister was first briefed on the progress of the Tilenga and Kingfisher projects by UNOC's acting CEO, Phillips Obita, and then the minister was also informed that the progress on the ECOP refinery stood at 35.5% as of September 2024, with frequent technical studies now being concluded. Now, the minister, who also inquired about the high fuel prices at the filling stations, demanded a formal and well-documented report from the technical team. And in response, the acting CEO, Phillips Obita, cited challenges hindering their supply chain, including blockages from Kenya. And lastly, from the business reports this morning, we look at the forex market to see how the Ugandan shilling was faring on the exchange. This is courtesy of the central bank. Opening time, the US dollar was buying at 3,655.45, while selling at 3,665.45. Midday, the US dollar was buying at 3,655.27, while selling at 3,665.27. Closing time, so the US dollar buy at 3,655.27, 3,655.27 while selling 3,665.27. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,749.65 while selling at 4,762.65. The euro was buying at 3,983.14 while selling at 3,994.04. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.33 while selling at 28.41. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.35 while selling at 1.36. And the South African rand was buying at 208.58 while selling at 209.15. Please note, these exchange rates are updated 3 times daily, Monday to Friday. And well, that does it for business this morning. Olive Monica Najuma is right here with the traffic updates.
Well, thank you for sticking with us. It's time for our traffic updates, and I'm Olive Monica Najuma. But before we get into that, earlier Donald Trump had about 211 electoral votes. Right now he has 230, and Kamala Harris is trying to play catch up with 205. Now 103 remain to be gotten by either one of the candidates. Remember, the winner has to get 270 electoral votes to become the next president of the United States. So who is it going to be? If you ask me, it is really tight, neck to neck. We don't know who it's going to be, though early results are indicating that Donald Trump may have a chance at being the president once again. We'll keep you posted and we'll give you more updates regarding the same. But now let's get into our traffic updates, starting at the Northern Bypass on your way to Ntinda. Let's see how you can maneuver through different routes to get to the middle of town. Now, what you see at the bypass is a bit of red zones, but remember the bypass has traffic lights, so I believe this is the red zones we see here indicative of traffic that is held up by the traffic lights. Now, following the route that comes from the bypass onto Ntinda Chisasi Road, we see that we have smooth flow of traffic over here as we head into the part of Chisasi. Now, looking at the Bukoto Chisasi Road, I see that we have smooth flow of traffic over here, and where Chisasi Road connects to Bahai Road, we have smooth flow of traffic even here. But I would like for us to go back to the main route that brings you from Chisasi into Ntinda, and that goes through the bypass. But looking at different roads around this area, like Waligo Road, Kanyanya Road, we have smooth flow of traffic over here, and those that are coming through Bahai Road, the situation looks pretty clear this side of town. Now, going back to the Northern Bypass, I see that we still have smooth flow of traffic for those that are going through the bypass, coming through the areas of Nalia. You'll experience a bit of traffic around the bypass, but that's still because of the traffic lights. And following the route from Nalia into Ntinda, I see that we have a smooth flow of traffic over here. So the situation looks pretty good if you're applying the routes coming into town today. The situation looks pretty good for you. There is smooth flow of traffic. I believe it's because for most schools, the non-candidates are staying home as P7 is starting their exams today. And that's where we will end with our traffic updates. We wish good luck to the P7 candidates, and the parents, please breathe. It's gonna be okay. They have worked so hard, and they're going to pass. Well, we'll take a short break, and Good Morning Uganda does continue.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Dealing with bloating and stomach discomfort can be a challenging and uncomfortable experience. Whether it's post-meal discomfort or that pesky bloated feeling, finding relief is a common goal for many individuals. Get ready to kick bloating to the curb with a set of exercises designed to bring relief to your stomach. No fancy equipment needed, just your dedication and a desire for that amazing post-exercise bliss. Your journey to a happier tummy starts now. Let's get moving. Number 1. Walking. A post-meal walk. Not only encourages gentle movement in your abdomen, but also helps activate your digestive muscles. The rhythmic motion of walking aids in the natural contractions of the digestive tract, facilitating smoother digestion and reducing the chances of bloating. Number 2. Deep breathing. Deep breathing engages your diaphragm, promoting relaxation and reducing the stress response. Stress can contribute to bloating, so practicing deep breathing helps create a calming effect, supporting optimal digestion and potentially alleviating bloating. Number 3. Cycling. Whether cycling outdoors or on a stationary bike, the continuous pedaling engages core muscles. This engagement helps stimulate blood circulation in the abdominal area, promoting digestive efficiency and reducing bloating. Number 4. Abdominal massage. By using gentle circular motions in a clockwise direction, you're not only increasing blood flow but also encouraging the movement of gas through the intestines. This can be particularly beneficial for those experiencing discomfort due to trapped gas. Number 5. Plank pose. Holding a plank engages multiple muscle groups, including the core. This activation supports the digestive organs and enhances muscle tone, potentially aiding in digestion and reducing feelings of bloating. Number 6, pelvic tilts. This exercise involves controlled movement of the pelvis, activating muscles in the lower abdomen. It enhances flexibility and promotes gentle massage-like effects, potentially assisting in relieving tension and bloating. Number 7, leg raises. Lying on your back and lifting your legs engages the lower abdominal muscles. This movement increases blood circulation in the area, promoting digestive health and potentially reducing bloating. Number 8, bicycle crunches. The twisting and cycling motion in this exercise engage the entire core, including oblique muscles. This can enhance the efficiency of the digestive process, potentially providing relief from bloating. Number 9, Pilates. Pilates focuses on controlled movements and core strength. Many exercises involve precise muscle engagement, supporting the abdominal region and potentially improving digestion, reducing bloating over time. Number 10, aerobic exercises, brisk walking, jogging, or dancing. During aerobic exercises, increase heart rate and stimulate blood circulation throughout the body, including the abdominal area. This enhanced blood flow supports optimal digestion, reducing the likelihood of bloating. Incorporating these exercises into your routine not only provides physical benefits, but also encourages a holistic approach to digestive health. As always, it's essential to listen to your body and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized advice. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, this program is produced by Sani Productions, powered by UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you so much for being with us. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. This lovely day that the Lord has made, we rejoice and be glad in it as we wait for the final results of what will happen regarding America's politics. Will we see the first woman of color take it, or will Donald Trump bounce back to White House after having survived, of course, the assassination attempts, but also so much in terms of litigation concerning what happened when he was pushing for the allegations that he had been rigged in an election. But also, to me, today happens to be a very special day, because it was on this day that I became a dad of a daughter for the first time. Happy birthday to Vanya Chirabo Nyonyitono. She makes to today. And may all the best that the world has give it to you. But away from that, also today is a special day for me, because every time I'm discussing issues regarding cooperatives, I'm very excited. Reason that I believe and I've grown up hearing so much said about the good days of cooperatives. I've heard so many interesting stories. How people, even if you never had money those days, but you had your coffee, you know, you would sleep content that your children would go to school and you'll have rest assurance that the fees are going to be paid, even medical and very many areas. So today I have two gentlemen, that is Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and a man I usually refer to as cooperatives because he's very passionate when speaking about cooperatives. Ivan, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, moderator. Good morning, all our viewers, and happy birthday to Chirabo Dota.
And just next to him, I have another person also very passionate about cooperatives, and that's Dr. Richard Miro, who happens to be the vice chair, that is the Uganda Federal Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services. He's with us this morning and he will still be telling us more in that area. Most welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much, and also happiest birthday to your dear daughter. Thank you so much for the warm welcome.
Well, our topic this morning is effective agricultural extension and advisory services through cooperatives. Now, most of the times when you talk about advisory services, many will tell you we don't see these extension workers, they never come, we suffer with so many problems. But first, I'll begin with the doctor. When we talk about UFAAS, what is this? What is your mandate? And how do you integrate into the cooperative movement?
Well, thank you so much, and good morning, viewers. My name is Richard Miro. I'm the Vice Chairperson of the Uganda Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services. I'm also a Senior Lecturer, Department of Extension and Innovation Studies at Makerere University, School of Agricultural Sciences. So, well, first of all, what UFAS is, UFAS brings together actors, professionals, practitioners who are employed in the field of advising farmers and providing extension services to farmers. And at the same time, we also, having identified and encouraged them to come together to network as a membership organization, we also recognize that there are other stakeholders, for example, those who teach agriculturalists who are going to be serving farmers, that is from academia, those who do research, like those from the National Agricultural Research Organization here in Uganda, even financing organizations which finance farmers and have to advise them in the area of financial literacy, investing, those also in the area of agribusiness and marketing. As long as you are a professional and you are a farmer-facing advisor. Even these days, Mr. Chirabo, we even have people who are in agro dealership who sell agricultural inputs. They do advise farmers. We even have farmers, we call them lead farmers, who also advise on several aspects to farmers. So we think that that role has to be done professionally, ethically, and we have to hold each other accountable. So UFAS brings us all together. And very importantly, certainly, even our cooperatives, farm organizations for that matter. We see them as farmers organizations, and cooperatives are one of those very important farm organizations which Uganda has had over the years, and they're still here. So again, the leadership of cooperatives, including the umbrella organization of UCA, can also be members of UFAS. Now, very importantly, our mandate is to come together as actors in this space to hold each other accountable in terms of how professionally we're providing this service, but also to build each other's capacity, identify where we need to be stronger and work together. We also network, learn from each other, the innovations that are in cooperatives or in NGOs. I didn't mention, but even NGOs which are doing extension are also welcome to be members, and we have several of them who are members. And even banks, because as I talked about finance. So we network, we lobby also and advocate government to provide good space for agriculture extension services. We've heard about the extension bill, which we need again. We also, the other thing we do is building institutions, making sure that institutions, organizations have good working environment for their workers. And so we also go into that space. So, but most interestingly, Mkulu Chirabo, is that we are also part of the African Forum for Agriculture Advisory Services. So we're like a country chapter. So we have an opportunity also to network continentally. As Uganda, we can share the innovations in our culture extension and advisory services. As you are aware nowadays, even they move from production through marketing, trade, agriculture inputs, what we call the agricultural value chain. Advisory services have moved into that space. Technology companies, IT companies are also welcome. So now, after that also lastly, is that we're also part of the Global Forum for Rural Advisory Services. It's called GIFRAS. And so that's how we and who we are. We are a membership organization. We are a non-governmental entity. But we work also very, very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. I think that's it for now, and thank you for that question. I will add more, certainly.
Well, now, having known your mandate, it brings me to Ivan. Ivan, we know most of the famous cooperatives are those in agriculture, in the minds of many Ugandans. Actually, when you talk about cooperatives, people run to the agriculture sector. That's true. These financial are relatively new. They complement. Now, how has UFAS been beneficial to the cooperative movement?
Oh, thank you so much. Good morning once again, our viewers. Very happy to be here today and very privileged to have UFAS. Because ideally, when you are looking at the agricultural advisory services, then here we talk about advisory extension services. Now, very importantly is that most of our people we are talking about, the cooperators, are in the agricultural sector. We all know that in this country, agricultural sector takes almost 70% in terms of the population being there, employed in the agricultural sector. And most importantly, if you are to look at the statistics globally, over 500 million small households are there in the agricultural sector. So we have the over 500 million small farmers' households who are there in the agricultural sector. Now, when you come to Uganda, it's around 3.5 million households are in the agricultural sector. These are smallholders. So how do you provide advisory and extension services? Then ideally, these people need to come together. There are so many. If you are to look, if he is to tell you the statistics, you will find that the extension workers will not be enough to cover all these 3.5 million households. There are so many. Now, the solution is that we need to have farmer organizations, we have to have cooperatives. And that is why UCA works closely with UFAS. Because for us, our role is to make sure that these farmers come together, produce together, aggregate together, add value, and collectively market. Once the farmers go through that value chain, and at the end of the day there is collective marketing and there is a better price, automatically they would require advisory and extension services. It doesn't make sense for government to invest in advisory services when they are not addressing the marketing part, when they are not addressing value addition, when they are not addressing aggregation. Farmers will have a lot of produce, and the moment there is no market, next season people will never go to the garden. So ideally, we need that synergy. Uganda Cooperative Alliance, UFAS, how do we work together to make sure that the farmers have the information on production and productivity, but they don't only end there, they cover the entire value chain. Now bringing in the concept of cooperatives, there is access to inputs, there is collective production, there is aggregation, there is value addition, and collective marketing. Our viewers, when we are talking about cooperatives globally, I want us to understand each other. That globally, we have over 3 million cooperatives. Over 3 million. Now we are talking about over 3 billion members of these cooperatives.
Globally.
Globally, over 3 billion are members of cooperatives. So when we are talking about this, we are not only looking at Uganda. Go global and see what is happening. Go to Europe, go to America, go to Asia. You will see the power of cooperatives. You go to Netherlands and you see how farmers access advisory services using the group methodology. So government no longer has an extension worker going to individual farmers. No, it is very costly to government. And I want government to listen to this. Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture ideally should be focusing on cooperatives. Because how do you provide extension services to these farmers, smallholder farmers, who are in 3.5 million households? It's very costly and practically it's impossible. But when you, for example, Netherlands, you will find that the farmers who are members of Friesland Campina, if you wanted to train them in dairy, then you don't need to go to individual farmers. Now they are in the digital space. There is like a digital training whereby everybody sits in his or her compound, is a member of the Friesland Campina, and is attending a seminar. That is how fight has moved. It is very costly, it is very effective and efficient. And that's why we are here talking about effective advisor and extension services using the cooperative model.
Now this takes me back to Dr. Miro. Yes. One of the challenges you find with our farmers is lack of effective advisory services. Yeah. One time I was in a village deep in Mitukula, and I found almost the entire village they had planted cassava, but it was attacked by a certain disease. Now, what hurt me most is that after a period of time, I went to Namuronge, that research institute, and I found cassava varieties that cannot succumb to that disease. But here we were, an entire village, and they highly depend on cassava flour.
Yes.
I think it's one of their staple foods there. And they were worried, what next? But also, just within around, there was some VIP I want to mention who was getting the cassava from this other place and planting. Like, oh, yo murogo, what is kamukwata? Oh. You know? So, even when you go to dairy, there is a lot of absence of knowledge. Yet, you, the doctors, you do a lot of research. And sometimes you travel to an international forum, and they introduce, now let's introduce the person who discovered a variety of this that is resistant to wilt. Dr. Miro from Uganda, we clap, and guess what? The man discovered it, he's getting honors and awards, but back home. So how do we trickle down this information to them?
A very, very important and very pertinent question. The fact that there could be technologies and solutions out there, and yet farmers that are really, whose livelihood depend on a crop like cassava, do not have that information or do not have the technologies, particularly the variety that can sort of challenge that they are facing. First of all, I would say that, of course, our farmers are used to grow their own traditional cassava varieties, for example. And these certainly sometimes succumb to challenges that you've mentioned. And there is also a true picture of lack of extension services and easy access to these services. Apparently, we know that for every one extension worker, there are about 4,000 farmers to reach. We call it extension to farmer ratio. I'm just trying to confirm the fact that it is possible that a whole community can have a situation where they do not easily have access to services. But not to say that there is no government presence. I think it's an issue where the collaboration or the ease of reaching the available, because we have available advisors. In this case, that particular area should have a sub-county agriculture extension officer of government. It is also likely to have some NGO which is providing agricultural services around that area. It's likely to have a farmers organization, a cooperative also not far there. But some farmers work in isolation and may not easily reach out. We call it also demanding. So I want to bring it two ways. I don't want to put the blame to the extension providers, let alone the researchers who develop the technologies. I'd like also to speak to our farmers that yes, when a challenge like that comes, at the sub-county, there's the agricultural extension advisor, your sub-county, supervised by the district agricultural officer. So that advice or that service is available from the government line of service, let alone the other services. So that's why we encourage now farmers also to reach out to these officers and seek their guidance and support. The other thing where I believe cooperatives become very important is that if a whole village depends, for example, on cassava, let me bring it from, let me say, from an academic or argument point of view, that yes, we have cassava as our main source of living, it's our main source of food, but I think it's also our main source of income in some form. So before we engage in such an important income and food security crop, we have to be sure of the market, as Mukulu Ivan mentioned. And so when we cooperate together, we would say, okay, we have a target to market this cassava. Where are we going to sell this cassava? Let's say we know where we're going to. What kind of variety do they want? Do we have that variety? Now that's where the farmers attempt to seek for information is likely to lead them to these already available sources. And I must also admit that sometimes we seek information after challenge like the ones that they faced. And so my big question would be, were those farmers able to reach out, say, to the government agricultural officer for help and they were denied support? And it is this agricultural officer at the district who now is aware about what is happening at Namulonge and is able to create a link between the farmers and help them access the cassava materials available that are safe and clean from Namulonge. So I think it's that's why we're encouraging cooperatives or farmers organizations, so that farmers also create an ask through the local government agriculture officer or through the NGOs that are available. So I think that problem then would not persist unless there are other challenges in that service chain, you know what I mean? Where the agriculture extension worker would say, I'm sorry, I don't have transport to go to Namulonge, or we don't have money to buy materials. In this case, the farmers, through their cooperative or organized system, can even say, no, we can put together finances to purchase those materials, as long as they are clean, as long as they are good, and they will address our need. So my point, therefore, is to, especially you who is, not especially, but like you who is connected, I think that's the message we would say, let's rally together, approach our officer, and place this demand. I believe that our agriculture officer will reach Namulonge, and arrangements to supply will be made, and that problem will be met. That's what I would say. Yeah,
maybe to make a rejoinder. Thank you, Doctor, for that explanation. It's well explained. You know, here, moderator, first of all, we want to appreciate our government for the current support to farmers, especially in areas of advisory and extension. They have done their part really fantastically well. We want to thank all the extension workers outside there. They are doing their work. However, with the challenges, as we all know, they have challenges. Now, it's very important that we actually look at this in a more effective and efficient way. And this is our extension is there, the advisory services are there, fine. But how do we make them effective and efficient? And here we are talking about the cooperative model. I want to call upon all the farmers outside there. There is no way, you know, Ugandans, we have a tendency of blaming others. My maize has been attacked by weed. Government is not doing its work. Before you blame, what's your role? Why don't we organize ourselves as farmers? Now that the government has adopted the cooperative model, and it is saying, please you people, even at parish level, organize yourselves in PDM. But some people are still stubborn. They say, those ones are not there. They want to remain in their own empire, which cannot help them. So I really want to call upon all our farmers outside there. Let's organize ourselves so that it becomes easy for these extension workers to reach out to us as farmers instead of going to individuals. Because these people who first, government and others, will provide very good extension services. But as long as the farmers are not organized, yes, you are going to produce a lot of maize. So what? And you know what happens to farmers when they produce a lot of maize this season? Because UFAS has trained them, supplied very good variety, the maize, it's a bumper harvest. Next season, nobody will go back to the garden. Why? Because there's no market. So ideally now, this is where the cooperative model comes in. You have gotten services very efficiently and effectively because you are all organized together. Then you aggregate. You maintain quality. You get me? Maintain quality through aggregation, add value instead of selling a kasori in raw form. You sell a finished product, you get more money. As long as the farmers have more money, the next season, they'll even be the ones looking for extension workers. And the extension workers will have done their work effectively. So we need to support each other. Let's not blame one side when our side is not clear. Let's work together, and the solution is coming together as farmers. And now that the extension workers have their own platforms in Uganda at continental level and globally, then even farmers downstream, if we are to benefit, we also need to organize ourselves. That is the way to go as a country.
When we come to farmers, there is the issue of rigidity.
Yes.
Doctor talked about many of them are used to their traditional, would I call it traditional? Or
way of life, way of farming.
As it was, it is now.
It is, you tell a farmer, no, now with intercropping is something you're not going in for. There is a new way, now you don't have to use a hoe, we can dig, doctor knows these things. Farming God's way, you know. Someone said, but you, my great parent lived here. Would plant this way. We no longer scatter seeds now, it's a hole and in a line, you know, and you find a farmer telling you, but you people, let me just ask myself, now the other ones that want, and are you going to count them? You know? No. So how do we go over this, doctor? Because most of the times, few seminars I've attended, I'm passionate about agriculture.
That's powerful.
I see many of these extension workers, one of the things they really fight with is introduction of new things, explaining why, where I used to scatter seed, now I have to plant in line. Telling me why you're introducing a new variety. Actually, many of them even fear new varieties. These are intending to weed out this. Many of them don't understand why previously we had a plant, a seed you would keep from a harvest, plant it, it germinates, gives you results, keep that seed, and now you're giving them a seed that when you plant grows once and you can't replant.
Well, I think your point, first of all, is that how can we encourage farmers to take up new practices, new technologies without resisting them? I think farmers and we, as Mukulu Ivan here mentioned, we have appreciated government, but we also must appreciate our farmers. You've fed us, you have made people who are not in farming be able to survive, they can be able to buy good food and so on. But even communities where you work and live have food, your own families depend on the food that you grow. But for me, one thing I can encourage farmers, because I think it's also a respectful approach you have to use to encourage farmers to to do things differently. If you notice now, we have grown in number, okay? Our fields are no longer as big as they used to be. And they are not even as fertile as we think they are. Why? Because when you have a small plot, just a specific plot of land on which you are putting everything that you grow, just like, you know, you have a store of rice, or let me say 3 kilos of rice, after 2 days, that rice is finished. So even with soil, when you plant, sooner or later, the nutrients that are in the soil will also exhaust. So you find that our soils also cannot bring as much produce as we expect. And so when we, let alone the soil, even the seed you plant has power to produce more or less. Now, if it's not of good quality, it will not give you what you want. So this is where you send people to school to study agriculture, to come up with new, we call them varieties of better seed. And Mr. Chilaba, by the way, for your information, there are farmers who are now supporting scientists to produce seed because the seed may not be enough. We get a good farmer who is very disciplined to help us produce, say, the bean seed or the maize seed other farmers can use. So it's really important that you use an improved seed which will grow better. But also it's important that you manage your soil, your garden well. And so if you don't do that, with the increased split of our plots, and you don't put in anything, you'll always find that you get less. So the point of staying with what you used to do way back no longer counts. So we are so many, we are minding. It's like, as I said, the example, I bought 3 kilos of rice for my family, 1 or 2 days, it is finished. People are eating all the time. So the soil is being used all the time. It needs to be improved. The seed that we are using also needs to be better. So I would say again, Mr. Chilabo, that we need again to, it's kind of sensitizing farmers more. But more importantly to me, farming now is a business, isn't it? You know, it's a source of
income. We advocate for commercial agriculture.
Yeah, and interestingly, by the way, many people have gone into farming as a business. Many people are using improved technology and so on. Some are still behind, but those who depend on it for money, they've actually embraced. The challenge, I think, is around markets. That's where we are strong on organizing, farm organizing, so that we can access markets. And therefore, when you have a market and a source of income, we can use some of that income now to buy improved seed, to buy fertilizer, or even to use what we call combined manure or organic with inorganic, because that keeps the soils very well. When you have a market, to me, I believe in markets. In any case, start with the market, which will give you money. When you're cooperating, even you can borrow money against what you supply later at the end of the season, so that you can manage your home needs, but also be able to improve your production, the seeds you use, the inputs, and the way you manage post-harvest. So, yes, it is true, some farmers are still in their old ways of doing business, partly because they are not organized with others, partly, yes, because they don't know that there's a sub-county official and are paid by government whom they should walk to. They still think people will go to them. I think that also must change. That as a farmer, even if you are not yet cooperating, please walk to the agricultural officer and say, I am faced with this challenge. And we have also many, I don't know if people have heard about the plant clinics. I know there are also not so many. This is where you can even take your diseased plant for help. And those programs are there also under the ministry. So I'm encouraging farmers here on this our UBC to go and seek help. Just like when you get sick and things are challenging, you try on Panadol, it's not working, you just have to walk to the doctor somehow. So I think that's the advisor. They will educate you more. And again, when you go there, I believe when you put in practice that advice, things will be different.
Things will be different. Now, Dr. Miro talked about the element of marketing. And so I want to bring in Ivan. How has Uganda Cooperative Alliance helped members to market? Because the truth be told, if you are going in commercial agriculture and I make a lot of investment, then I don't have where to take my goods. More so, also most of us farmers in Uganda, issues of value addition are not what we are good at. So we have to sell our perishables in that form. That is why the middleman, usually Ivan doesn't like, comes and he looks at your goods and says, well, even if I don't take them, you're going to lose. They're going to perish. So I'd rather give you some amount that I've planned to carry for you today. So how are you handling the issue of marketing?
Oh, thank you so much. And I want to thank you, Doctor, for the explanation, especially on the extension. Now, back to the cooperatives and what we do as UCA. It's very important that once people have gotten agriculture extension services, then it doesn't end there. Just at production and productivity. The whole value chain should be complete. That's when farmers get money. And interestingly, when farmers get money, then farming becomes a business. And when you look at the NDP for now, it is based on agro-industrialization. Now, agro-industry, we have talked about the issue of value addition, whereby farmers have been selling their products in raw form. And hence they lose money. And that's why you find that the buyers are the ones determining the prices, which should be the reverse. It should be the farmer to determine the price. But they exploited. Why? Because of the issues that you have talked about. So as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, what we do basically is capacity building. Like what we are doing here. Capacity building is critical. How do you change the mindset of the farmers? How do farmers understand that they should own the entire value chain, not just donating their wealth to middlemen, they make money and you remain poor. That is ideally what we are looking at. Secondly, we are looking at policy. How do we support farmers in policy, legal and regulatory framework? Like the issues of extension. How do we ensure that there is a policy on extension? How do we ensure there is a policy on value addition? Such things. Then the other issue is the conflict resolution. How do we ensure that if there are conflicts, even at marketing or production level, then UCA comes in to resolve these conflicts so that farmers can work together in groups. The other issue is resource mobilization. How do we ensure that we mobilize resources for these farmers? Because without resources, what we are saying will not work. Then another thing is integration. How do we ensure that there is an integrated model? We call it the cooperative integrated business model, whereby a farmer, when he's seated here, take an example of a coffee farmer. I like coffee because I'm a farmer. I grow coffee. Last season I got good money. I even got scared sleeping in my house. You can imagine. So now, if I'm seated there, how do I, for example, access extension services? How do I move on? I access inputs through my cooperative. Then the my cooperative is there. It will bulk my coffee, and then we add value and then collectively market. That is when you make more money. For us, we are happy that we made some money in coffee, but actually, the middleman is happier than the farmer. Now, if we are controlling this, the entire value, the value chain, we would be smiling even more than what we are doing today. Because if you added how much the middleman has taken, plus how much I was paid as a farmer, I would be driving a Land Cruiser today. Because ideally, farmers should be richer. But the fact that they have not been taken through, they have not come together through cooperatives, some of them, that's why you see poverty. I was reading this morning, it's very unfortunate that farmers continue to be referred as poor people. Poor, why? Why should you be poor? You control, you are the producers. As long as you have control over your produce, you can determine the price. Why should I go to a shop and it is the manufacturer to determine the price of a phone. But when it comes to farming, agriculture, it is the buyer to determine the price of my cow. It's really unheard of. Why? Because we are not organized. But the manufacturers are organized. It is not me, the buyer, to determine the price of a phone. It is the manufacturer, because he knows, he has calculated, he knows the cost of production. But the farmers, the buyers take advantage. So this is what we do as Uganda Cooperative Alliance, and again in partnership with these organizations like UFAS. Then we go beyond and provide extension services. You know, some of these cooperatives have extension workers. You go to Chibinge. Yes, they have an extension worker. So who complements government? And when you look at what it is today, I want to inform Ugandans that if we get organized more than we are today, everything is there. You look at extension, we are there. You look at cooperatives, they are there, they have the storage facilities. Some of them have the processing machinery. Government also came in with different programs. Community Agriculture Infrastructure Improvement Program. They constructed agro-processing facilities across the country. And these ones are supposed to benefit farmers. You go to agricultural credit facility. It is there for the farmers in commercial banks so that farmers can get money. You go to ACDP, the Agricultural Cluster Development Project in the Ministry of Agriculture. They constructed agro-processing facilities for the farmers down there. You go to NADS, you go to NUSAF, the facilities are down there. So what we need is for all the farmers, the smallholder farmers, coming together, having the power, and then we utilize all these facilities up to the end, we get better prices. That is when agriculture becomes very profitable. You go to the developed world, you go to Netherlands, farmers are very rich. One time I was there in Netherlands and we went to Parliament. The president of the farmers, president of Friesland Campina, this is the diary. When the money entered, you see members of Parliament, honorable, the money has entered. He's very strong, he's a big person. But now here, a farmer is different. They look at you from a different perspective. Why? You have failed to organize yourselves and you have continuously donated your wealth to the middlemen who are making more money at your expense.
Now so here I want to bring in Dr. Miro. Yes. Advisory services are a necessity, most so throughout the food value chain. Yes. Previously, it was all about food insecurity. But now on top of food insecurity, there is food safety. Yes. Where, yes, you may grow food, you may have the food, but when it goes to global markets, if it's not meeting the global standards, then you're not in money. Yeah. But we also know that much of the advisories require money. That's you know? Yes. If you're going to have, if you go to cattle, if you've been having the Ankole cattle or the Karamajong cow, whatever, and you want to go for Jersey, a Ganze, or a Frisian, maybe you have to cough times through the price of what you've been having. If you're having improved seeds, it also still requires money, even taking extension services. That's true. Yeah. How do you handle this?
Again, thank you so much, and thanks. I usually say Mukulu Ivan for Elder Ivan. For Mukulu means elder. It's a term I use to show respect. Also for his submission, really emphasizing that farmers must get organized. Before I go to your question on how do we finance agriculture advisory services, is that your concern? Yeah. I see the picture that Mukulu Ivan is showing us. I see a plan. The ones running Kalere Market, for example, where cooperative has this space, everything coming in is still owned by the farmer. Okay, so they can actually control the price that the consumer is going to pay. And therefore the farmer downstream will earn more. And even when it comes to value addition, now when the farmers earn more, one of the ways in which we advisory services can be supported, by the way, there's a difference between extension, providing extension services. The premise is for extension services that there are farmers out there where government is obligated to guide them on what to do, okay? Guide them on how to grow, how to manage their gardens, especially these days, as you are aware, we also have making sure the environment is protected so that you don't mismanage your garden, cause erosion, affect your neighbors' fields. So government is obliged to provide extension. Now that's a government, it's a public service or a public good that all farmers, whether organized or not, can have access to. That's not paid for. But now if you are to go commercial, like Mkulu Asime now has his coffee, which has brought him a lot of money. He can't afford waiting for an extension worker to come by and visit, because this is a business to him. If a challenge comes through, he will have to stand up, go find this advice, and even he will be willing to pay for that advice. That's why now we talk about advisory services as services offered at a cost, okay? For someone who is running his or her farm as a business and needs this service and is willing to pay for that service. Now, of course, as you know, our farmers are going to struggle with that, but I think some have come to mind. And actually, we encourage the farmers, especially if they are organized. You can say now we need an extension worker to come and advise us on our cassava. But when they come, let's provide them some fuel refund as farmers, so that we encourage them and incentivize them to come. So one of the ways is this: when farmers are organized in their budgets, they should put some money for advisory work.
Thank you, Dr. Miro. Well explained. Now time is running up, and I'll just be giving each of you a minute, please, for your parting shots, beginning with Ivan.
Thank you so much. I want to thank UBC for this opportunity. I want to thank UFAS for your work, government of Uganda, and all farmers outside there. I want to use this opportunity, moderator, to call upon all farmers in Uganda. Let us get organized, including myself, I'm a farmer. Let's get organized. Let us stop this level of exploitation. Let us use our extension workers downstream to really support us in order to increase production and productivity. And then let us go through our cooperatives to aggregate together, add value, and then market our produce so that we get better prices. Together, we shall all be rich. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ivan. Dr. Miro.
Again, also to appreciate you, sir, for the opportunity, to appreciate UCA on this partnership that we are building together, for the opportunity to come and emphasize the importance of farmers organizing, but also highlight the importance of agricultural extension and advisory services. To remind our viewers that UFAS, as Mukulu Ivan emphasized, is a platform. It is a space where all of us that are involved in advising and conducting extension to our farmers, but also to other value chain actors, including on food safety, on marketing, on financing, on value addition. All these things, extension now has broadened. Please come and join UFAS so that we can hold each other accountable. We make sure our profession is respected, again, okay? And it's through when we're together, just like farmers are being encouraged to come together, we also are saying, as extension and advisory workers, let's come together through UFAS, hold each other accountable, lobby more, and also we've had, there's an opportunity also to be paid if our services become and contribute to the profitability of our clients. That is my parting shot, and thank you again.
Well, thank you so much, Ivan Asimwe, Dr. Miro from Makerere University. Thank you for your time, and above all, our viewer, thank you so very much. Now, the extension workers get organized, the farmers get organized. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.